All right, 25 minutes before 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. Anybody who has raised children has probably gone to the bookstore, gone to the children's section, and found yourself reading those books and trying to pretend it was for the children.
Yeah.
And you love these books, right? I think a children's book is in a way like a song, you know? It's like in very few words, tells an amazing story, often with a redeeming message of some sort. That is exactly what we're talking about right now. Dr. Madeleine Sherak is on the phone. She's a university field supervisor, a longtime educator. Her book that is for children is called Superheroes Club, and it's part, I think, about not bullying, because I was reading the reviews. She's getting really great reviews for this. It's beautifully illustrated, by the way. That needs to be mentioned as well. A superhero is not about how you look. It's about caring and sharing. What a great message. Dr. Madeleine Sherak, what an honor to have you on our show.
Oh, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here, and it's always wonderful to be able to talk about things that you're passionate about and that you feel is a message that you want to get out and people will embrace.
So I have a question for you. You're a doctor. Do you have a waiting room at your practice?
No.
No?
The only thing I'm on call for is when my grandkids need tutoring.
Oh.
So they immediately call me at all hours of the day and night.
because I don't buy too many books in the bookstore anymore for children, because my son is now 31 and all my nephews and nieces. But here's where I read the children's books in the doctor's office. They're always laying around. There's always a children's book laying somewhere, and I'll pick it up, and I'll be the only one in the room reading a children's book. So tell me about let's talk about this book first, and then we'll talk about your career. Tell me about the Superheroes Club. How did you find yourself coming up with an idea for a story that would talk to children about bullying? How did that happen?
Well, first of all, I have 10 grandchildren, the youngest 7 and the oldest 20. My youngest, it's actually his birthday today. And I had so many stories to tell and so many experiences between my own kids growing up, being in education, and seeing my grandchildren growing up, and the different world that all of that is taking place.
Yeah.
And I've always seen the world through the lens of a child. And I say to myself, okay, how are they seeing the world? How are they seeing the TV that they're watching? How are they seeing the games that they're playing? How are they seeing the books that they're reading? And I want to make sure that if I was going to contribute something, it would have a positive impact on their lives. And this particular story came out of an experience one of my granddaughters had. Lily is actually one of my grandchildren. She's the actual character.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
She's such
And
fun.
she is. And when I speak to people, they all say to me, we have a Lily in our family. She's just like that. But she was in a nursery school class where half the class were typically developing and half the class were special needs children. And she befriended a little girl who didn't speak. And it didn't matter to Lily because Lily spoke for the both of them, and they figured out a way to communicate, have fun together. And I said to myself, you know what? There's that innate innocence and goodness in young children. And I wanted to make sure that whatever I wrote would nurture that, encourage it, and celebrate.
Oh my gosh. The little girl that wouldn't speak was, I'm just guessing, I'm not a psychiatrist, but I'm guessing she was greatly helped. Her self-esteem and everything must have been boosted just by that beautiful friendship.
Oh, not only that, but when her mother saw that at a party that they attended, it almost brought her to tears, because here she said, oh my gosh, my child can be part of something. And kids are embracing her and including her, and being inclusive is one of the most important things that kids want and yearn for.
It is so basic and so beautiful to hear that story. Robin and I volunteer with an organization called the Children's Craniofacial Association, and these children have facial deformities that they have to live with. I mean, surgery will correct it somewhat, especially if they're having a hard time breathing or something else that's, life problems. But they'll never have a normal face, whatever that is, and that's what they're taught. And every time we speak to one of the parents who has their child at one of these like picnics or one of the functions, they always say that before they ever did it, they were afraid that their child was going to say, "Oh my gosh, I'm one of these. I'm a freak," but it's exactly the opposite. They embrace each other. It's a friendship, and I think what what Lily did is just, I mean, she's like beyond her own years. Doesn't even know the wisdom of her own years, right?
Yeah, she is that kind of a kid. I mean, when you see her and all of a sudden she presents herself on page 3, I think, that's how she is. That's how she gets up in the morning. She's happy. She's, the glass is always half full. My daughter has an organic garden, and she's the one that takes her little wagon and picks things from the garden. So part of what I wanted to also do with her character is make parents and educators think, okay, how many kids wake up that way every morning, happy that they're having a good day and they embrace the world, and how many kids don't wake up that way? And we need to be concerned about those kids.
Right.
You also have a part in there where one of the young ladies was a performer for gymnastics. But then Lily came in and told about how exciting her vacation was, even though it wasn't of that, she didn't travel like that.
Yeah, there are two things there. Each of those characters, obviously, I wanted to make sure that we get messages from both of those characters. Let me talk about the Mia character, who's the gymnast first. And she's modeled after one of my granddaughters, who is a competitive gymnast. But what I wanted to express there was, how many times do kids fall for whatever they're doing or fail until they can be successful at something? And it's about perseverance and believing in yourself. And then also getting to a point where as long as you try hard, you've been successful. That it's not always completing it, but just being the best that you can be.
Yeah, I think that's right, yeah.
And with regard to the Lily character, just to build on what you had asked about her, it's also about finding the things that give you inner gratification. It isn't always about big things that people see. It's about what you can do inside. And that's why part of the message is that everyone can find the heroic potential each one of us has. And that's the thing, I think, that sustains you in life. It's not the outside stuff. It's the stuff that you can do from your heart.
I'm going to make an observation, and I wonder what your reply is going to be to this. So it's not really a question. I'm just going to tell you what I think I'm seeing. I think so far, everything you've said has appealed to me as a dad, has appealed to Robin as a mom, anybody who's an adult listening, it appeals to them as an adult. How do you, and so therefore you've hit it out of the park, you hit a home run, but you have another audience, you have the children who will how do you appeal to them? Because so far, everything you've said really works for me, and I'm sure Robin, but do you have a way about you that you know what will get a child to want to know, to hear the story? And especially because I remember over and over and over, children's books get read many, many times.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, I have to tell you, when I go to schools and read the book, there's a page in there, and I don't remember which number it is. It's a 2-page section where they talk about how kids are bullied at school, how kids eat lunch alone, and how kids aren't picked for sports. And while I'm reading those 2 pages, all of a sudden I can see the attentiveness. The kids, they sit up straight. Their body language kind of shows me that they're tuning into that. So I think what happens is they can relate to those things. They see the images and they hear the words. The words are very simple and they can understand that. If it's not happening to them, they can see it happening to someone else. So that's where I can see that they're connecting, because it's about real kids and real experiences, as I said, that they're either feeling or seeing at school.
Well, you were the executive producer of the film Dawn Anna. I did not know anything about the film. How did you manage to have this project, to do this project for Columbine?
Well, years and years and years ago, when I had stopped being in the classroom, I always felt that I wanted to do things in entertainment that related to women and children. My husband was a long-time industry executive and president of the Academy, so I had always been connected to the industry. And then her story came by way of something we saw on TV. She was honored as volleyball coach of the year, and my son had been going to school in Denver, and we were able to connect with her. And her story was so remarkable. I don't know if you know her story. She was a volleyball coach at Columbine High School, and she also taught math, and I taught math, and her daughter was the captain of the volleyball team. And initially, she had this medical condition, and we always thought that was her challenge in life until she found out that there was a shooting at Columbine. And her daughter was one of the students who were killed at Columbine, and she allowed us to do her story. But it was more about her perseverance and her struggle. And what she did afterwards, she became kind of the spokesperson for the parents, and she would go to schools and talk about how students feel alienated and how we need to, the same conversations we're having today, unfortunately.
Exactly.
And
too sad.
And that's how, so we connected, and I've been in contact with her ever since, and, she continues to try and give out that message.
The book is for children. It's called Superheroes Club. It's written by our guest, Madeleine Sherak, Dr. Madeleine Sherak. Am I saying your last name correctly?
Well, it's really Sherak. It's not written phonetically.
It's sorry.
Madeleine Sherak.
I'm glad I asked.
No,
okay.
that's fine. That's fine, and feel free to call me Madeleine.
One of the characters, Alex, he is part of the autism spectrum.
Yeah, he is, and some of my grandkids are on the spectrum, but I've seen a lot of their friends, and there's so many kids who are on the spectrum today. And the reason I wanted to include him is because he also, when you think about what he wants, because most of the kids who are on the spectrum, unless they're far to one end and they have full blown-out autism, they may be in special classes. But most kids who are kind of midway in the spectrum are in the classroom. And what do they really want? They want to belong. They want to be part of something, and that's what Alex wants. And the nice thing is that Lily has embraced him, and she's his cheerleader wherever Lily goes. She's going to have Alex and Meatball with him, and as I said, he just wants to be part of a school community, and we need to be able to see what can he contribute. So I'm going to plug my second book, because there is a second book called Superheroes Club, A Celebration of Uniqueness. It probably won't come out until next spring. But what that showcases is that each kid, whether they have autism spectrum disorder or anything else, has something to contribute. And it's about finding and helping them bring that out so that they're part of the school community.
You are doing very well with this. You're getting 5-star reviews across the board on Amazon. In the category of tolerance, which I'm sure you've got a lot of competition. Let me click on this. You're number 144, and that's nothing to sneeze at in a field of books that's probably in the millions. For you to be 144, that's pretty good. And the book's only been out 4 months, isn't it?
It's been out, since October.
Oh, wow.
Since October. So, but it's about getting, look, I'm just one of many, and there are lots of wonderful, wonderful books out there, and all of us are trying to do the same thing, and that is making people aware of it, because there's an important message for all of us to share.
And right now too, especially because with all forms of social media on there, you like to give your children some privacy so they can chat with their friends. But then sometimes they do get bullied on that social media, and then all of a sudden the students who are bullied verbally like that in the written word aren't the same. So parents have to recognize different traits and signs.
Oh, there's no question about it. I've always believed that, first of all, you want to be a presence in your kids' lives. And it doesn't mean sitting in when they're doing everything, but at least being with them. I always made sure that my home was always a home where I'd invite all the kids over, help them with their homework, and feed them. You help them with their homework and you feed them. And you're just a fly. You're just a fly on the wall. And it's very interesting. Kids will talk about anything in front of adults as long as you're not sitting right there with them. But if you're in the room, they're willing to share anything.
Yeah.
And it's all about being aware of what's going on in their lives, whether it's driving them in carpool or at home or wherever.
Do you have something from your own childhood that kind of would indicate to a psychiatrist that this is who you are today?
Yes. My parents were Holocaust survivors, and when you think about the horrific things that they experienced, my father actually lost. He was one of 9 children. He was the only survivor. And yet he was able to take away from that there's still goodness in the world, and spent his entire life until he passed away at 90 was still doing volunteer work and helping other people.
Okay, I didn't understand what you meant. That he was one of 9 children, and he's the only survivor?
Yes.
What happened to the other 8?
Camp.
Oh, in a concentration
Holocaust.
Oh, a Holocaust survivor. Oh, I didn't pick that up.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And it's interesting how you would think that people who have experiences like that come away with so much hate in them, and it was just the opposite. He was able to separate the people who were hateful and those people that try to help even within that kind of horrific environment.
We have met other Holocaust survivors, not lately, they're all probably passed away by now, but early on in our radio careers, Rob and I had every single one of them fit that description. You would think that they'd be full of hate, but they weren't full of hate at all.
Yeah, so those are life lessons you take with you, and you try to then pass on to your own children and grandchildren.
And you have had your share in your family of different ailments. Because of your husband, you formed the MS Hope Foundation.
Yeah, the Tom Sherak MS Hope Foundation. Well, our daughter had been diagnosed with MS when she was 15. But yet she persevered. I mean, she's the strongest woman I know. She was a cheerleader at her high school and even made the UCLA cheerleading team with her MS. And it's been an incredible journey with her. And over the years, we try to raise as much money as we could for MS.
Going back to what the definition of a superhero should be, obviously, if you look at TV or whatever, it's somebody who can fly, who can, fight bad guys with his X-ray vision, whatever, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. The true superhero is the person who has kindness and who is willing to share, who is willing to be empathetic, and I think you're teaching a really great lesson, and by doing it in a fun way. I'm wondering, have you had enough time has the book been out long enough that you had feedback from maybe a parent who said to you, my little girl read this or my little boy read this, and you know what they did because of reading this? I mean, have you had one of those stories come to you?
Yes, there's no question about it. I have, but more so from teachers, because I'm much more exposed to greater numbers of teachers in the classroom, because I do go to schools and read the book. And what I'm trying to do and they're trying to do is we're trying to work together to embrace all the themes in the book. And I've got to give the teachers that I've seen kudos for also embracing these, because they're trying to create environments that are not only safe but welcoming for all students. So I'm seeing it from a lot of students. But yes, I have had it from parents and grandparents who happen to read it with their children, who just, they fall in love with Lily. Right. And it makes them think twice about what they're doing and what they're experiencing.
And you seem to have, your words seem to have a good marriage in the illustrations from the artist.
Oh, my illustrator, I was very fortunate. She was a recent graduate of Cal Arts here in California, and this is her first book. Can you imagine? And the only character I gave her pictures of were Lily. the other characters, we talked about diversity, we talked about different things, and she's created all the other characters. And she's the one that was able to help with the layout and the colors. She has done a phenomenal job.
In the book, there's
no question about it.
There's a photograph of you, and there's an illustration of her. And I'm guessing other people have told you this, I'm sure. You favor each other. I mean, you sort of look similar.
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the reason.
Who are the two dogs with you? Tell me about the two dogs in the picture with you.
That's Tucker and Maggie. They're white labs. And Tucker, they're both seniors now. Tucker is 13 and Maggie is 12.
Oh, my gosh.
They're fabulous. They're fabulous.
I'm going to guess that the service dog in the book is a favorite of some of the children anyway.
Well, actually, it's Lily's dog. Lily,
oh, my gosh.
My middle daughter has 4 kids, and that is Meatball. And there's a funny story with that, too. That daughter has 4 kids, and they couldn't decide on a name. So some of them wanted Meatball, some of them wanted Bear. So his first name is actually Bear, and his middle name is Meatball. But I thought that Meatball would be a much funnier name in the book.
Oh, man. Does Meatball jump up on the bed?
Oh, gosh, Meatball is everywhere. He's supposed to be calm and for the family, and he's just the opposite.
You should get one of those custom-made bedspreads and have a print of spaghetti on it, and then have him jump onto the spaghetti, Meatball on spaghetti.
Oh, that's a great idea, but between you and me, I don't tell my kids to do anything.
No, you're good, smart idea, yeah.
You really have this underlying way of getting to the parents, though. You do inspire them to have more involvement in their children's lives, and that if they have to have that fine line between parent and friend, because the children do need parents, they do need direction, and if the parents are kind of leery about that, you tell them it's okay to go talk to a school counselor or something like that.
There's no question about it. You know, my favorite story is I see a parent asking a 2-year-old, do you want to wear a jacket? And I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, as a parent, if you believe your child needs a jacket,
yeah,
then get the jacket. You may give them a choice of which color to pick.
There you go.
But yes, you've got to be the parent and give your child age-appropriate responsibilities as they're growing up. But yes, you've got to provide structure and parenting and make decisions for them that you need to make.
That's right. That's right. That's your job. Where are you, Madeleine? Or did I ask you this? I just don't remember.
I'm in Calabasas, California.
Oh,
you know
okay.
where Calabasas is?
No.
We're just on the other side of Malibu Canyon.
Oh,
if I
okay.
go through Malibu Canyon, I'm at Malibu, not far from Pepperdine University in Southern California, as far west as you can go
sort of know the area.
LA County.
I spent a little time in Santa Monica, so I sort of kind of know that area.
Okay, right. If I were to go to PCH and travel south, I'd get to Santa Monica.
Okay, gotcha.
Nice.
All right. The book is available on Amazon. I know that. Do you have a website dedicated to you or to the book?
Yes. superheroesclubbooks.com.
Okay, excellent. And Heroes has the E in it, just so you know.
Yes, and then you can there's a blog on it. There are descriptions of the various characters and backstory, and just the other social media outlets on that site as well.
A child will love this book. The parent will love the message. That's what I think. You managed to succeed in something that seems to be very hard to do, which is to put a book together that tells a great story and at the same time is attractive to the young readers who you intend it to be for. Madeleine, thank you for being on the show with us today. Good luck with everything.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to talk about it. And as I said, it's all about all of us working together to help kids grow up today.
Absolutely, yeah. the world needs help, and one little helper at a time is all we can do.
It is absolutely true. So have a wonderful day, and it was a pleasure speaking with you.
Same here, Madeleine. Thank you. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM, The Source.
Fox News Radio, I'm Chris Foster. Calling school shooters savage sickos, President Trump repeats